Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the CCS. My name is Thunder. I am joined today by my wonderful color caster, Sultan. Crawl Sultan. We are bringing you the matchup today between TA Light and Blue Esports Fire. TA Light on the blue side, Blue Esports Fire on the red. Sultan, how are you doing on this wonderful Wednesday, and what can we look forward to in this matchup?
I'm doing really good. I think this matchup will kind of show how Wednesday kind of lines up as a group because TA Light coming in, they're 2-0. They as far as I'm aware, they didn't drop a single game. And for next to that, one second. Okay. Um, Next to that, they also brought in Dallas, who, in my opinion, is a better ADC than who they had. So I feel like we have a really good match, but also a dominant one for the TA Light side.
Absolutely. And now we do also have another substitute on the side of Blue Esports Fire. They have brought in what I believe is pronounced Kenai. He is looks like a jungle main that is filling in for this support role, subbing in this time around. So it'll be interesting to see how this bottom matchup goes with subs on both sides. Maybe that messes up some preparation for people. Maybe that throws some monkey wrenches in there. And as we see, we have nameplates up. We'll be getting into this draft shortly, but Carl Sultan, what are the power picks really that we are looking for from both sides? Are there any big one tricks that we might want to keep an eye
Um,
out for, or what are we looking at?
from my knowledge of the players, I know Dallas has a really good Wayne, and he normally performs on his pick. So I would look if it's going to be like maybe a potential pickup for him. But again, like I think for both of these teams, they will look to play more meta, hopefully. So picks such as Jinx, Aphelios, those are really high prior right now, especially the Jinx because how she can be paired up with more supports than Aphelios. So probably those two picks is like what I'm looking at for both teams here.
All right. Well, we are into the picks and bans. We have all three bans in for both sides. Ezreal, Viego, and Gwen are banned on the side of TA Light. And Blue Esports Fire have banned Diana, Vex, and Jace. So a smattering of bans across the table. A top lane ban, two top lane bans, two jungle bans, a mid lane ban, and an ADC ban. And then we also have the Victor first pick for TA Light. Victor, that scaling mage in the mid lane, kind of untouched so far in these last few patches, while Corki has been. But on the other side, Blue Esports Fire picking up their bottom lane very quickly with a strong Jinx Karma.
Yeah. So Victor, I think it kind of fits Dr. Phil and Chill's playstyle. As far as we know, he likes to like more scaly, hold on to the mid lane's control, like kind of manage the waves better. So Victor hits the spot. Jinx is probably the best ADC right now. Coming just before Aphelios. She's really strong. 3, 4 items she's enabled, especially paired up with the Karma, extra movement speed, plus the getting excited from Jinx. It is going to be really hard to deal with that. But I like how T responded to the Jinx Karma pick.
Absolutely. The Aphelios Thresh coming in as an immediate answer, but we also have the Olaf Jungle pick. I assume it's going to be Olaf Jungle. We've seen sometimes go into the top lane, but it's pretty, these days it is very much a jungle pick. And paired alongside that Karma with the speed up buffs, Olaf plus an Enchanter is a tried and true combo, but the remaining bans have come through that are Ari and Kassadin. Those are targeted over at Mr. Top in the mid lane. And then we have Jin Zhao and Trundle, Blue Esports Fire, trying to target out the jungle Spoozy on the other side. Blue Esports Power, they now get their pick of the litter. It looks like, so far, both teams have a style that they are headed towards, a style that they want to go all in on.
Yeah, and I like the Trundle ban because Trundle literally turns Olaf into paper. And normally we see this Olaf as like, oh yeah, you cannot CC me. But Trundle's pillar is, I guess, what can we call it? Like just a wall, like
An
just a huge
obstacle.
pillar. Yeah, just an obstacle that you cannot. It doesn't count as CC. So it kind of not lets Olaf do whatever he wants because he has the access to the ultimate. I like the Veigar pickup though. It is like more zone control for the side of Blue Esports to give that Olaf more pressure, especially in the mid lane, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. It really looks like they're building around this Olaf with kind of a Jinx, a little bit of a late game insurance. But TA Light, they have picked the Jarvan. This Jarvan Thresh, combination can be very deadly. And then we see the Shen that will be going into the top lane for UBC Sauter. I mean, this is very much, we can look at this draft right now. This is very much going to be focused on the bottom lane. I expect to see a lot of action around this Thresh Aphelios.
Yeah, and I think for the side of TA Light, they're putting their all of their balls towards that bot lane. They're just saying, okay, we just play towards this Aphelios, get him ahead, and don't let this enemy team kill him. And they do have a really good comp, especially I think Shen is a really good pick these days, just because of that TP nerfs that we saw a few patches back. Um, it doesn't let you TP towards or the minions, so it's harder for top laners to affect the map. But Shen, especially when he has the 6, he has his ultimate, it is a global shield and the teleport. So it is a really good way to play through your bot, especially with this J4. So I like that. But I also like what Blue Esports is doing. They're trying to go for better late game champions. Graves skills really good, can build full breaker, really strong with that. Wygar, Bino, the infinite scaling on the champion, plus the Jinx. They have a karma. They can win the game, but it is. I feel like it is harder for their comp to execute it when it comes
Yeah.
down to it.
Definitely. And I mean, if it looks like, looking kind of almost at the range advantage here, Jinx outranges the Aphelios, and then kind of for the rest of what TA Light have, it is pretty low range stuff with the Jarvan, with the Shen. Victor kind of has that long range of Jarvan and Shen. They have some dashes that can get them where they want to go, but it's going to be really difficult, I think, to get through this Graves and this Olaf with all, especially
Yeah.
with a Veigar cage put down to even get to this Jinx. So even if, once this Olaf starts terrorizing people, once you deal with that, the Jinx will probably be relatively untouched. So dealing with that backline is going to be key for TA Light.
Yeah. And I think the important thing will be for this game is to kind of track the flash cooldown for that Jinx. Every time that flash is down, it should be like a decently easy engage. Just because when you get the Jarvan down onto the Jinx, you can put the Victor ultimate. It is almost like the same AoE area, or around the same thing. So it would be really hard for that Jinx to kind of survive that if she doesn't have the flash available to her. We can still see like a kind of like a re-engagey comp where like they let the J4 engage and then they go back in with Olaf. It's going to
Right.
be like a back and forth team fight, kind of like maybe some mind games from both teams to bait out these like cooldowns. We can say like I think this game specifically, Jarvan, Flag and Drag, plus Wygar's E, which is going to be really important for that zone control, especially on the side of Blue Esports.
Absolutely, and both sides kind of have those different forms of zone control. Jarvan the fourth with that Cataclysm, as well as Thresh with the box, as well as the Flay. I mean, for the side of TA Light, there is a lot to protect this Aphelios. That's of course what this whole draft is built around, essentially giving the Aphelios a few free summoner spells. But Jarvan the Fourth, you were talking about kind of how Trundle has that pillar. Obviously, the Jarvan the Fourth Cataclysm is a much longer cooldown than the Pillar of Filth. But that Cataclysm can still kind of, if Olaf doesn't have Flash or whatever, put that Olaf in timeout a little bit while the rest of the team does what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is we talked about like how it's hard for this J4 Shen to kind of get onto the Jinx if they have Flash, but once this Aphelios, if we see the normal build where people usually opt into the Gale Force, it's going to be even harder for the side of Blue Esports to get onto this Aphelios. And even if they do, there's still the Lantern, there's still the Shen ultimate. So I just kind of want to see how they approach this game. I would like this Olaf to kind of put pressure into the bot side, get this Jinx ahead, so that they don't have to worry about getting on top of the Aphelios later on in the game.
Absolutely. But either way, this should be explosive all across the map on both sides of the table. We will be back in just a few minutes to bring you the very first game. Don't go anywhere.
Hold on. I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser. Always ready to cry. Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
And welcome back. We are into the game. Everybody is out on to the Rift. Summoner spells loaded up and all of that. It looks like everybody is in their 5-point guard, guarding all the entrances to the jungle across the board. No cheeky invades, no cheeky level 1s. Sultan, what are we looking at? What are we most excited for so far, looking at these summoner spells, looking at where everybody is?
I'm looking at the itemless karma right now. I wonder if he's gonna realize it. I'm hoping that it's just a spectator bug.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, he's resetting
Okay,
now.
resetting.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Minions haven't spawned yet, so it's not too much of an issue. Nobody's caught that, I think, as of yet. So should be good. Karma should get there just about in time for the minion waves to crash into each other. But ooh, that was a close one.
Yeah. Well, other than that, I guess one that I'm interested in is this ghost choice from Irusai. Because you're playing against the J4, so like in these fights, you're gonna need your flash to get on top of this Aphelios. Like their ghost will not matter if you're in the Cataclysm. So that is a pretty interesting thing. And, I hope it kind of works out, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to see. You know, maybe thinking perhaps, you know, the J4 will be jumping onto the Jinx instead of onto the Olaf. But I mean, as you said, it seems like, you know, the Cataclysm is just as much an effective tool to isolate the Jinx as it is to just, you know, put Olaf away, say no more playtime for you, and while you kill the rest of his team. But you know, who knows? Who knows? Irusai probably might know this matchup better than us, and that's kind of what we're looking for. But otherwise, junglers have both started on the bottom side of their maps. Neither one is doing a full clear. They're doing the 2 camp clear up to their second buffs. It looks like, although J4 going for the wolves as well. Maybe some play on the top side of this map early, but Dallas is low. Double flashes. Nobody dies. Everybody's alive, but 3 summoner spells blown on the side of TA Light. Only 2 burn for Blue Esports Fire.
Yeah. I think this is kind of worse for the side of Blue Esports. It was a good flash. He almost got the first blood, but now you're Jinx, you don't have your flash, and the enemy team has a J4, so you're kind of making yourself more vulnerable to these ganks. Cynical support actually getting the freeze here, and
some supportal combat. The first element coming through. There's the death sentence, but Kenai on this Karma, but now Dallas has arrived as backup for his support, and Kenai is doing his best to crash what is now a rather large wave at this point.
Yeah, and he should, because if that stays as a freeze, it's gonna be really hurtful. Spoozy going for the engage.
Baby Cage comes through. Mr. Top now getting the poke onto the enemy jungler. Olaf is here for backup. Spoozy dodges out from the stun. The undertow does not hit. And now the top laner's going at it. Shen kind of bullying this Graves a little bit in the early game in the health advantage, but Elusive is going to get this wave to crash pretty easily.
We're seeing a lot of kind of small fights in these lanes. I like this Wygar pick and how he's going to look to play. He opted in for the Predator boon choice, which is a little more roamy, and especially with the Olaf, you kind of want to affect your this jungle matchup a little bit more. Get this Olaf ahead, so and you can easily do it with your cage because J4 he cannot flag and drag out of the cage obviously, so it would be a kill angle.
Engage for Cynical support. The hook comes through. Here comes Jarvan. Spoozy is here. The flash is down. Rhaegar is dead. You called it. Can Kenai get out of there? The Karma does manage to escape, but that is first blood over to TA Light, and you called it beforehand. No flash on the Jinx.
Yeah, and this is gonna hurt because of how big that wave is. Like, Aphelios picked up the first blood, picked up all that CS, picked up, I think, a turret play too, which was like split between 3, so it's not as much gold. But like right now, that Jinx just lost almost like a, I don't know, 2 wave worth of CS and EXP, and it's gonna hurt when we see this lane go back to normal.
Absolutely, yeah. Currently down 11 CS. The Jinx is in the bottom lane to the Aphelios. Olaf had to go down there and get some farm. Olaf not going to be too mad about that, getting some extra minions under his belt. But this Jinx, you know, Jinx might outscale the Aphelios when it comes to range later in the game. That doesn't matter if the Aphelios gets far enough ahead. And I mean, this Jinx will not have flash for a little while yet still, but thanks to that play in the bottom side of the map and everybody recalling, Blue Esports Fire are the ones with priority over this Drake.
Yeah, and I would have kind of liked to see Blue Esports bot lane play a little safer. especially after burning the flash from Jinx, you know, like the enemy jungler is a J4. They have it threshed. The lantern is always there, so like maybe getting a deep ward while the Philios was reset would be something nice to see from Kenny. At least just for that small safety that you can give to this Jinx while her flash is down. But the flash is almost back up, so there's like almost no problem.
Indeed, and of course, you know, they don't have to be too afraid of any TP wards until the 14-minute mark. However, the Shen with that Stand United, it is online. Euroside now, though, in the river, in the bottom side river, trying to fight over this crab, will not scuffle too much for it. Goes ahead, maybe gives it over, but calls up his bot lane and his mid lane. When the baby cage comes down around the crab, it looks like Blue Esports Fire are the one that are going to get this crab, but everybody is still around in that bottom lane. There's a 4v4 going on down there, and there's a 1v1 going on up here. Is the Shen going to be able to survive? If the fight breaks out, the Stand United will bring this Shen down here first. Spoozy, though, is he going to get caught out? The baby cage just barely catches his ankle, and that is a death. The Scuttle Crab does, however, go over to the side of TA Light, as Blabber might say, worth.
Yeah, burning the flash, dying, but secured the Scuttle Crab. So, I think that play was good. That gives the lead to Mr. Toppin in the mid lane. But if you look at the CS diff in bot lane, like hopefully Jinx picks up some of the CS, or maybe all of it if she can do it perfectly. But she's still gonna be down almost close to 10, if not more. So that is gonna hurt. There's also a CS lead in the top lane. There's a CS lead in the mid lane, and like thinking that you're Olaf into J4, who's like not a really good farmer, being only up like 2 camps is also not the best for
Wait, Rhaegar even goes for the flash and still falls. Kenai has already used the Karma Flash. That is a 2-for-0 in the bot lane. You were already trying to tell them to play safe, and they were too far up, but now there is a skirmish in this top side river. Essentially over the blue buff, Dr. Phil and Chill manages to flash away, maybe, but top is here. Sauter does not get there in time with the Stand United, has to flash out. Spoozy, though, now making a play on the other side of the map. Can he go 2? Can he make it a 4-for-1 on the play across the map? Mr. Top now and Spoozy facing off. Mr. Top, this Veigar has the level advantage, but Spoozy is here. Baby Cage comes through. Sauter has arrived as well. This is not a fantastic look so far for the side of Blue Esports Fire. If Top can get this kill, maybe they trade something back, but no. That is 5 kills across the map in just the span of about a minute for the side of TA Light.
Yeah, and I think a big problem there was they were kind of looking to make 2 plays at the same time on the map. They're trying to fight with their top jungle, mid, and top lane, top side river, and the bot lane also fight. Trying to get a fight there onto the enemy bot lane. The problem is you're Jinx and you're behind, like horribly almost. Like you're down 2 kills, you're down 10 CS. You should just like be looking to not do a lot, and the hook lands.
Yeah, that's it. It's clinical. The box comes through, turret shots come down, and Blue Esports Fire trying to get something else across the map. They get a turret plate. That's what they're going to get. This Graves doesn't have Hullbreaker yet. He does not have that huge survivability that we've seen some of these late game Graves have, and he's punished for it.
Yeah, and like just in general, like he wasn't getting ahead in farm against this Shen, and he was losing the fights. And like that Shen just back to a full Frostfire gauntlet. Like that's how much gold he was sitting on, and he was still winning the trade. So I think it's really well played for the side of Sauter, and also at the same time really good plays coming out from TA's bot lane. So big props to that, at least until the 10-minute mark of this game.
Indeed, and now both junglers are hovering around this bottom side of the river. J4 has stuck around a little bit longer, does have the Rift Herald. I mean, we said it before, we'll say it again. It looks like they're playing around this bottom side of the map. The flash hook comes through. There's the flay. Once again, no flashes. This is surely an actual death sentence. Olaf has arrived to back up. So far, it's only the support that's down. Mr. Top, this Veigar has come through. He's been putting on a show. He has the only 2 kills on the team. Can he make this gold matter? There comes the cage, but Spoozy is on a rampage inside the Cataclysm. Dallas finally gets the shutdown onto that J4, but not onto the J4. J4 is still alive. I got my left and right mixed up. That's a 3 for nothing. I thought it was looking good for Blue Esports Fire, but I got bamboozled just as much as they did.
Yeah, and yeah, like it is just so hard for this Jinx to play without a flash because, like we said it before the draft and like when she first burned it, it is almost impossible for this Jinx to like play safe when there's a flag and drag, there's a hook, there's a lantern. There's so many things that can get on top of her if she doesn't have access to that flash. And Karma, yes, the movement speed is good, but it's not gonna save you from a J4 ultimate. So eventually they just came out losing in this early game, and a 4-0 Aphelios that already has the Gale Force, already building towards the Collector. He is looking absolutely scary right now, and
There are 4 mythic items on the side of TA Light. It is currently, it's getting very close to a 7k gold lead. It's currently a 6.7k lead. It has just now hit the 12-minute mark. 3 members of TA Light have shutdowns. There's not even a completed item on the side of Blue Esports Fire. There is 1 set of completed boots, it looks like.
Yeah, and I think a good part, I guess you can say, Blue's almost getting solo killed. Spoozy's here.
Spoozy has arrived, and in the 3v2, it doesn't look good for TA Light, actually, but the rest of the team has arrived. Dallas is here. The bot lane has come up to save the top lane. That is a triple kill for Dallas, a 3-for-1. Mr. Top and Rhaegar, they're up here now. They want to get something back. Everybody else that's still alive on the rift for the side of Blue Esports Fire is here. Meanwhile, Victor is pushing in the bottom lane, and TA Light, they're just making this look clinical.
Yeah, and I guess a good side to that fight in general was that they were able to pick up the 500 goal shutdown on the Spoozy, but the shutdown went to the Olaf. Normally, it wouldn't be a bad pickup for the Olaf, but thinking that he's 1-3, thinking that he will probably not going to make a lot, you would probably want that shutdown onto your Jinx or Wygar at this point in the game. Well, but like you're never gonna say no to an 800 gold shutdown, so it is not that bad.
Absolutely. It did contribute to the first mythic item on the side of Blue Esports Fire that Gore Drinker now completed for the Olaf. Will give him some extra survivability, maybe enough time with the Ragnarok to get him to the backline and get the 700 gold shutdown that is currently on the Aphelios. But I mean, after that first Drake that Blue Esports Fire were able to get essentially just off of the recalls from TA Light, they have not been able to get a single objective. They've been able to get 3 turret plates across the map, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's like that 700 goal shutdown will just get hard. Like, it is really hard to pick it up right now because yes, Olaf is CC immune, but the rest of the team will be slowed from like the gravity field that the Victor provides. There is a Shen W that doesn't let auto attacks go through, especially when on top of Aphelios. So it's like gonna be super hard for the side of Blue Esports to get that shutdown onto the Aphelios. Not even talking about the Thresh, Blaze, and Lanterns.
Indeed. And, now we're once again looking at these top side members again, and Shen is about to 1v1 the Graves with a hole breaker, goes for the flash. That is a Shen solo bolo on a Graves. Yeah. That is not a good sign for the rest of this game.
Yeah, and I think Sauter has been playing this matchup almost perfectly from the beginning. He kept up with the CS. He ulted multiple times. Ooh.
Oh, Mr. Top Farewell gets sent back to Foster's home for imaginary kids. You don't want to see it.
It just gets worse by the minute, and you don't want like the side of TA Light's team to snowball, because how Blue Esports comp works is that you maybe get the game to 30 minutes, and your Wygar has 1000 AP, your Jinx is on 3 items. Now yes, now you're winning the game, but again,
Boozy is here, Rhaegar goes down, Kenai is almost dead, but Mr. Top has revived and has come back. Vhagar is here to provide some sort of protection, but Dr. Phil in Chill, I mean, we haven't said his name much, but he's just been quietly farming away, chipping away at these turrets, and once he starts joining these teams, I mean, he's already been there, but he's really going to have an impact later in this game. And they're at 17 kills, and the Victor hasn't even really been that involved.
Yeah, well, he's been just farming it up in mid lane. We saw Mr. Toppin try to help his top side lanes, but it is kind of like at a point where you going there doesn't even help you. It doesn't help your team. Just because how behind their bot and top lane is. Like, this Graves is not able to face this Shen in this side lane. This Jinx and Karma dying almost on cooldown because of like how squishy they are at this point in the game. And Olaf, sadly, even after the huge shutdown that he was able to pick up, he is still nowhere close to being strong compared to the side of TA Light's champions.
There is now, the gold lead now sits at just under 10k. Objective bounties are up for the side of Blue Esports Fire. If they can start getting those, they can maybe start clawing back at this item advantage that TA Light have. But it's going to be a long road. I think step one probably has to be just stop getting caught out every single time. It seems like they're pushed so far forward at every point. I don't think I've seen them die once under tower yet.
Yeah, and what they need to do right now is stop the bleeding, kind of like put this game at a space where like they're pushing the waves and then you're just like answering it back with your push. And just like maybe get some freezes around their tier 2s, slow the game down, and then hopefully you will expect TA Light to overreach and maybe get these shutdowns, especially the one on the Aphelios is the most important one to pick it up. But like, we're just seeing Dallas is running into Elusive alone. He just gets... Oh,
they didn't even need the Moonlight Vigil and Spoozy. I mean, we see players on both sides of the map. One person gets away, one person does not. And for that, TA Light, they get another turret. They're going to be dropping this Rift Herald, and this will most likely be a tier 3 turret. Spoozy still getting chunked away at, but still not dying yet.
They're losing. Oh, Shen ult again. They're going to lose this fight.
A 3v2 in the mid lane. Spoozy and Shen are coming through. Spoozy and Sauter. Wait, hold on. There's one kill. It's onto the Jarvan. Sauter, though, we saw what he did to the Graves in the bot lane. That's only a 1-for-1
game.
But this Rift Herald, we almost saw the dancing Shelly. Mr. Top almost gets taken out by Dr. Phil and Chill. And TA Light almost just won the game.
Well, yeah, they took out an inhib. Graves is steeping back. This is a really bad call. This is like...
Death sentence comes through. The Thresh goes golden and the Olafs die. Dallas is here. Mr. Top goes down and Graves falls shortly after, but the Jinx rocket comes through, saves the Graves for just a second, but that is still a 3-for-1 for the side of TA Light. They go for the recall instead of over pushing to end the game.
This is just a slaughter, and I just think these shot calls are extremely bad from the side of Lucy. Like, Graves TPing there? What are you TPing for? Your Olaf doesn't have ultimate. You already picked up an ultimate with the Jinx rocket, which is like fine. It is something. And it is just like they just seem lost. Like Graves TPing, but he's 1-6. He's not strong at all. Your Olaf, you're probably the strongest member right now, doesn't have a second item or his ultimate accessible at that point in time. Your mid laner is almost chunked to half HP. Your support is less than half HP. So it's like, it was just a desperation play, I guess. But it just like, this makes TA Light end this game faster. If not, they were gonna end at like 20 minutes.
Yeah, but it's like sometimes teams they know they have to think about don't play to not lose, play to win sometimes, but it's exactly what you were saying before. Like, this is a team comp where if you can get to that 30-minute mark, even if the other team is pretty far ahead, at some point you will just start to outscale because you literally scale infinitely with the Vygar, you have super strong scaling with the Jinx, and it seems like they just aren't playing for that advantage, like, that might... But at this point, I don't think that's even an option now. Yeah. There's a Baron, you have a single Nexus tower left, you still have 2 inhibitor turrets, but...
Well, this game was kind of already, like, gone. Almost after the first few plays we saw on the bot lane. Like Rhaegar and Kenny just walking up way too much, not respecting the enemy jungle and bot lane's kill potential onto them, and like just Aphelios getting this ahead early on is just like so hard to play into. But I'm not even like talking about Shen somehow winning the top lane matchup. And they just forced Mr. Toppin, who actually like picked up a kill early on into the game with his ultimate. Like they just forced him to come to these side lanes to help them. And like that eventually ended up Mr. Toppin just going down 50 CS in his own lane that he was ahead in. So I feel like, I guess having a sub support that is auto-filled is not the play sometimes.
No, understandable. And Sauter, again, I don't think I've seen Shen take as many 1v1s as I have today, especially against the Graves. Even the Olaf, it's a 2v1 now. Sauter maybe in a little bit over his head. The Ragnarok has popped, but no, the Shen maybe still wins this one, wins the 2v1. The rest of the team is taking the inhibitor turrets and is likely going to be taking the Nexus. Kenai manages to escape the Cataclysm for now. Douse the Moonlight Vigil just barely goes wide. That is a couple of big ultimates used, but it does not matter. Dr. Phil and Chill just plays Pop Goes the Weasel with Rhaegar. This is a Baron buff. This is a super minion. This is game one to TA Light in an absolutely dominant fashion.
Yeah, and like talking about like maybe the next game, everything has to change. Like from, I think there's a lot of things that went wrong. How Graves played the early game, and like how that Shen even got ahead in CS at one point in the early game. And like Olaf taking Ghost instead of Flash when there's a J4 on the enemy team, that is also a mistake. And just like how their bot lane just played in general, it's like not respecting the J4. Maybe they didn't play as much into like a Thresh Aphelios J4 comp, but you should at least have an idea at this point as how those champions work. So I think they need to change around a lot. Maybe play something else, because it didn't seem like they were comfortable on these picks, and there was like a lot of obvious mistakes in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I mean, looking at this end game graph, we see two of the members of TA Light even still ended the game with their Doran's items. That's just, they were so dominant in this match. That was a hell of a game out of TA Light. We have one more game to get to, and we will get to that in just a moment. Well, I say one more game. I'm not caster cursing this. Maybe I am. At least one more game to get to. We'll see if Blue Esports Fire can turn it around in game number 2. We'll be right back.
battle has begun, and metal shall prevail. For we know what they have done. 5 legends of our realm who sought to follow the path of their dark musings. But they did not know what they had summoned. Pentakill.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. A nice short break there. Once again, I am Thunder. I am joined today by Sultan. We are covering the match between Blue Esports Fire and TA Light. Game number 1, TA Light went in and they kind of stomped it. Not kind of, they really stomped it. Blue Esports Fire really need to turn it around in this second game if they have any hopes of making it to a game 3. Sultan, how do you want to see them do that starting with this draft?
I think they need to. First of all, they need to put more respect to the enemy team and kind of like realize what the enemy team is looking to do with their comp. Because what they did was like Olaf didn't take flash, bot lane blue flashes early on, but they didn't respect the ganking potential. So they just like got caught. They kept getting caught, and then like it eventually snowballed into a lead that they were not able to respond at all.
Yeah, and it was, it was just a constant snowball. Blue Esports Fire, their comp was kind of aimed towards late game, and they did not get a chance to show it. We hardly even approached the mid game, but we are back into the picks and bans. Blue Esports Fire banning the Jace again. They banned that game 1, changing up the next 2 with the Zeri and the Thresh ban, putting a little bit of respect on that Thresh. And then Gwen, Viego, and Ezreal banned for the side of TA Light. The same bans that they went with game 1. I mean, if you're TA Light, why change anything? Blue Esports Fire, though, taking the Jinx one more time.
Yeah. I think this is a kind of a good draft adaptation, we can say. Aphelios is not as strong with other supports as he is with Thresh. They just work really well. Thresh can play both styles. He can play kind of like an engagey and disengagey styles. We're seeing a Jhin hover, and like that is also good. Jhin is more of a pick that you kind of use as a utility, but he can still, when given the lead, he can still take over games because of that. How much damage that force shot does.
Yeah, that was literally what I was about to say. I've seen that force shot do some like 75% health bar chunks, especially something squishy like a Jinx. But Jhin, this time TA Light putting Cynical once again on an Enchanter instead of the Thresh, kind of that engaged support with the Jhin Lux. Now, Lux, we have seen that sometimes flex towards something like the mid lane, but Jhin Lux absolutely something that we could see rocking this bottom lane very strongly. We'll see what Blue Esports Fire want to do, if they want to go with the Karma or maybe go with a different style of engaged support themselves here.
Yeah. I guess we can also see Lux as kind of a flex. I think we've been seeing it mid lane a little more than before. And yep, she does incredible amounts of damage when she's given the gold. So Lux is definitely a balanced champion in that sense. We're seeing Leona. I think I like this more compared to the Karma because last game their whole playmaking was coming from the Wave Arcade. Like there was no other engage. You cannot put in. They were not able to put any pressure on the Aphelios. This time they have Jhin, who doesn't have a Thresh to get him out. So this time Leona, I think, gets way more value since that Thresh is off too. And more than likely putting their top lane on a pick like Ornn, where it is harder to kill compared to Graves. I just like that a little bit of a draft adaptation coming from Blue Esports.
Absolutely. I'm personally a big fan of Ornn. The big goat god can do basically it all. But TA Light, whoa, they knew exactly what they wanted in this last phase of bans. Victor is picked up once again for Dr. Phil and Chill. We didn't see him that much, but when he did show up, it was literally just he would nuke somebody. So he obviously knows what to do with this champion. The Veigar is banned this time. And the Ahri is also taken off the table, received some buffs recently, a lot of ult resets. That's pretty scary. But Blue Esports Fire, we're seeing a lot of the stuff in game 1 get banned on both sides of the table. The Jarvan and the Shen are taken away, but TA Light have picked up the set. Now, this could be support or it could be top lane. This leaves the last pick for TA Light kind of up in the air.
I'm pretty sure it is going for top, just because they picked up Victor. There's Lux. I'm pretty sure, unless this is set, jungle, I guess, which hasn't been played in 2 seasons almost. I'm almost sure it's top. It has a decently well time into the Ornn, especially in the late game. If you get to ult that Ornn onto that Jinx, it's gonna one shot. That's how settled works. Tankier, the more HP that the champion that you're ulting has, the more damage you do when you slam them down. And that is a decent pickup. It puts some pressure onto that Jinx and Ornn. It is also works really good with Ornn ultimate. So I think that is a good pickup. A blind Trundle comes in. I wonder how they're gonna respond to that as jungle pick.
It is very interesting. I do think maybe this Trundle might be an answer to the set. Set builds a lot of health, also can end up building a lot of armor with his kit if that's the itemization that he goes for, if it's something like a Hull Breaker. So Trundle with the ultimate doesn't mind taking a chunk away from that set, but a Kassadin was picked up for the sides of Blue Esports Fire. That is going to be going into the hands of Mr. Top. He has played a ton of games on Kassadin. His number one pick in solo queue, but we have another meta pick for the side of TA Light. It is going to be the Hecarim in the jungle, and I think that just about shows us what TA Light's comp is going to be.
I will be honest. I hate Hecarim pick here, and my reasoning is I played my fair share of this matchup. I have almost never seen a Hecarim win this matchup. Trundle, 90% of the time wins. He wins the 1v1. In a team fight, he ults the Hecarim. Hecarim is paper. Like, that guy will get one-tapped. And, like, especially with the latest builds, I don't know what build Spoozy is going to look for, but the main build right now is going Chem Tank into Renduins. Those are a little more tanky, so that he can like ult, be more disruptive, and then like he would be staying on the front line. And looking at the TA's comp, they don't really have any other front lines next to the set, so I would assume he would want to go tank. But then going tank would just give Trundle more armor. So I don't like the pickup in there. I like the set pick. I feel like this time Blue Esports has much more pace to work with. Of course, this Kassadin kind of limits them sometimes, just because how like he wants to kind of scale again, like to 11, 16. But I like the Trundle Leona picks just because Trundle can be a menace early on in the game. And with Leona, they can actually look for plays that they normally wouldn't be able to just due to like how their champions want to scale. Because Jinx, you want to hit 3-4 items, or you want to go for like pre-level 13, you want the item power spikes to come from ornaments. And this time they have the comp that can hold on early on with Trundle Leona and stall the game long enough to where like this Jinx, Ornn, and Kassadin will scale and just gonna like stat check the enemy team at one point.
Exactly. And that's kind of like the back and forth of what Blue Esports Fire have picked for this team comp. It's just super good at this, late game front to back 5v5, ARAM at style, but that's, you mentioned this before, that's kind of where Set can shine. If this Ornn is on the front line, Set says thank you for the, fast service directly to the back line, goes with the showstopper, hits the face breaker, and it can certainly be a problem, but that, the Trundle, as always, can just fly in the face of that entire plan.
Well, yeah. Like, I think what TA is looking for here is just, like, looking for team fights before Blue Esports gets to scale. Use that Set ultimate and Hecarim ultimate to get on top of the Jinx. Because on the side of Blue Esports, they have 4 melee champions. Which... they have a Victor, they have a Lux, they have a Jhin. It's not gonna be that hard to hit the front line. The point there is, can you kill them faster than they can get to you? And like Lux and Victor can help with the kiting, especially with the Set's help with the ultimate, the showstopper coming too. But I feel like this game should be closer. I'm not gonna say will be, but should be closer. But we saw how TA kind of skill checked the early game and laning and got ahead. So if something like that happens again, it might be a kind of rough go for the side of Blue Esports, just because this time they have more scaling. They have more scaling from Jinx, Ornn, and Kassadin.
Yeah. And I mean, last game we saw Sauter on that Shen. He was pushed under tower. He was stuck under that turret for the first 8-9 levels, but was still getting a farm advantage and was still able to eventually 2v1 the top end jungle for the side of Blue Esports Fire. And I'm going to be honest, being able to do that on a Shen and then giving the guy a set, that's a little bit scary. But, you know, the Ornn, the Trundle, they're a little bit harder to kill at least, but they can just be big HP bars for the set to work through.
And
Oof.
coming from last game, like how we talked about Trundle Pillar kind of not letting Olaf go through with the obstacle that it creates. It's almost the same idea with Hecarim. You almost never take flash on Hecarim because how well the champion um uses Ghost, and when you do that on Hecarim, Trundle pillars, and you either have to burn ult, and if you don't have ult, you are more than likely dead, just because of how like the pillar also gives it slow, so that kind of hurts Hecarim too. So I really like this Trundle Hecarim matchup. I want to see Irusai to kind of like push his lead in the jungle, push his 1v1 pressure, get this Hecarim behind, and make sure to like get these counter ganks in to help his laners. Because if he doesn't, I feel like early game will be really rough for the side of Blue Esports.
All right. Well, there you have it. We're hoping to see some early jungle action. Maybe we'll see a lot more skirmishing again in game number 2, perhaps in the favor of Blue Esports Fire, or maybe TA Light will just dominate with kind of these brawler, these early picks, and make it a quick 2-0. We will have to see in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Everybody panic! Hold on! I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser. Always ready to cry. Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
To these creatures, there is
Hello everybody, welcome back. We are into game 2 between Blue Esports Fire and TA Light. TA Light took the first game in relatively convincing fashion. There was no funky stuff happening at level 1, but there might be this time. Blue Esports Fire, Kenny, spotted out on the ward. I believe I'm surprised he didn't see it with that timing, but it looks like he might not have spotted it, at least to get a hit off, and everybody is going to recall. Unfortunately, no cheese at this level 1, but everybody has their items.
Yeah. Well, I would have expected maybe like a running from top lane invade. That's like the better way because it's harder for the top laner to spot you. So there's like a higher chance of success at least. We're seeing. So this is not buying your item. This is an actual strat from Ornn, where like you start with refillable, you farm the first wave of minions, and then start your lane with a refillable instead of that 1 health pot that you would normally start with. So this is kind of like a early buy towards the refillable, kind of like helps him with the sustain in the lane early on. And you see that coming in. We see cleanse being brought from the Jinx. I'm not sure if he needs it this much this game, but I guess after Cynical landing most of his hooks, he is kind of scared from the Lux bindings too. So
Yeah, you know, some of it's from the mental from the previous game. I absolutely get that. You need kind of that safety blanket. But Sauter going in, getting some punches onto the Ornn, onto Elusive early. I mean, this is why, you know, you buy those pots, because Set in the early game is going to be doing a lot of damage very often, especially in these first few levels. And it looks like we just had 6 total biscuits pop up in the item inventories. It was very fun just watching them all show up at the same time.
yeah, it is a really highly chosen secondary rune choice because it helps with the sustain. A lot of the champions in the meta sometimes run into mana problems. Obviously not Set. That champion is obviously just broken, doesn't need mana. Oh, another E landing.
Elusive just kind of stood there and took that one right to the face, you know?
Yeah, and we see like because he didn't buy his starting item early to get that refillable, he wasn't able to fight the Set at all, and he didn't even get the regen from the Doran's shield that you would normally get. So he's less HP than normal. He still holds on to his 2 refillable stacks, so that is always a good thing to see as an Ornn. He's hopefully gonna pick up some CS here and get back. Interesting thing here that I see is Spoozy didn't go for his Krugs, which I think as Sekram you should just look to full clear, in my opinion, just because full clear is better, and you doing 5 camps into Scuttle doesn't give you level 4 anymore. So it is something that I would not like to see from the jungler, because like you're stuck at level 3, and level 3 to level 3 Trundle just beats you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Spoozy not even maybe going to check to see if hero-sized Krugs are up, which they are. Instead, waiting by the mid lane and going for the recall. And actually, during that time, that gives Iroside the ability to go in, check out, see what's happening in the jungle, and come around for a flank on the Set. The Ornn is low, though. I don't know if this might be a fight you want to take. It is still a 2v1. The pillar comes through. Here comes the domain. Sauter is here. The E comes through. The face breaker, but in the 2v1, the Set, the W comes through, but it is not quite as strong. Flash for Flash. First blood goes to Iroside, and both top side members for Blue Esports Fire make it out alive. This is the start that we want to see.
Yeah, and like this is kind of a good play from your side, recognizing the Set is pushing in, is trying to apply pressure to this Ornn, and this Set still not putting down his ward into the river while pushing. It's like a kind of a mistake, because like you don't know where the enemy jungler is, and it is really risky to push, and we saw White was risky. Although he's still up almost close to 17 to 18 CS in this lane, he did drop a kill to this Trundle, and that's not what you want. You don't want this Trundle to get this early lead. And Spoozy, at the same time, he wasn't able to do anything the main thing about Hecarim is that he still clears faster than Trundle. Although it's an unfavorable matchup, Hecarim's clear speed is hardly matched in the meta. The other junglers are clearing way slower, but somehow Irsai right now is up 5 CS compared to Squeezer and taking his first reset right now.
Yeah, that I think that comes precisely from Spoozy not getting those Krugs. I think Irisai picked up a couple minions up in that top wave as well as cycling some of those early camps. But this Trundle does have the advantage as well as going up in kills, is able to buy a Sheen on the first back. So this Cynical Support does get a root onto Rhaegar. No flash or cleanse used as Spoozy arrives. Kenai wants to keep going in, but is now stuck in the middle of 3. Leona is pretty tanky at these early levels, manages to flash out. Both flashes down for the bottom lane of Blue Esports Flyer. Flashes are starting to get burned for the side of TA though. Nobody dies, but that is a lot of summoner spells. The Ghost Flash is gone from Cynical Support. Dallas is gone, no longer has the heal. It looks like just about an even trade of summoner spells, but we see another root onto Rhaegar. There's the cleanse. The summoner spell advantage may be coming in huge here, but the exhaust doesn't do enough. Cynical Support picks up the first kill. Can Kenai make it a 1-for-1? No, it does not. Both kills go over to the Lux.
Yeah, and I feel like they just didn't realize maybe Jin not burning the flash, so they tried to go in again. It is pretty bad. I guess Jin not picking up the kills are at least kind of a relief for the side of Blue Esports, but it might hurt them back because this Jinx now again in the early game, 7 minutes in, down 16 CS, and I'm pretty sure she's not able to catch any of that lost CS under the turret, so that is gonna hurt. That is obviously gonna give the side of TA some lead in the bot lane, and they already picked up the dragon with that lead. So I want to see more plays from Irisai towards the bot lane now, because this time compared to the last game, it's Dallas and Cynical who is not having the flashes and playing a, let's say, immobile bot lane. And they have the Trundle pillar, they have Leona, they have tools to engage. So I want Trundle to go down there, get some leads, and get his bot lane a little ahead and a little bit stronger.
Yeah, because I mean, Ornn is not exactly going to win the lane against Set, no matter how you slice it. And so getting this Jinx, I mean, that is your... I mean, really, now for the side of Blue Esports Fire, they have a comp that seems really similar to what TA had in Game 1, right? There's not a Shen, but there's an Ornn, right? The same type of tanky, protective, a little bit kind of engage, and then a scaling mid laner with this, scaling pick in the bot lane, a strong engaged support, and maybe Blue Esports Fire can take a step back, look a little bit at what TA was doing, and approach the rest of this game through that manner.
Yeah. The main problem that Blue Esports has right now is that their CS, they're down a lot in CS, like almost in every lane. 21 in top. Jungle, they're up 10, which is a good sign. Trundle is really strong. But another 22 CS lead up towards the mid lane. And in the bot, there's also... It depends if Jinx picks up these CS, fair enough, but she's still down 15. And it's just like, doesn't look good. CS is a lot of the income that they need. And for the side of Blue Esports, their power spikes comes from the levels more than the items. At least for the side of Cassidy and Ornn, they need their level 16s to actually level up their teammates' items. And for Cassidy, he needs to level up the ultimate.
So that scaling is going to be important, but that is maybe kind of good news for the side of Blue Esports. Maybe you're not necessarily out farming, but that's not as much where your power spikes lie. At least not for the mid and the top laner. Jinx, though, really does want those items. Good news, though, for the side of Blue Esports Fire. There are not 2 or 3 mythics completed. Cynical Support really far forward. The Fort of Demacia does not get a chance to finish. Spoozy now caught up, has the Onslaught of Shadows away. That just seems like an overpush for the side of TA White.
Yeah, and I think they kind of did the same mistake that Blue did last game, where they kind of believed in their potential to outplay, but you're playing Lux engine. It's not Aphelios, it's not Thresh, you cannot get out easier compared to the last game. Leona locks them down really good, and having the Trundle down to the bot, there's no way on earth that TA wins that 3v3. Like, Trundle right now is super ahead of Hecarim, and we saw it there. Hecarim had to ult out because he was ulted by the Trundle, and the pillar came through and he was about to die, so he had to use his ultimate to get out. So now they don't have their engage tool, like the only engage tool that Red side has. They're getting back their flashes, but they already died. And Jinx was able to pick up some CS. The CS lead will go to less than 10. So it was a great play. At least Irusai playing towards his win cons this time better compared to the last game.
Indeed. And you know, at this point in the game, Blue Esports Fire, they are only down about 1k. Woo! The forward of Masya Kenai getting hit by the root.
Oh,
The level up, coming in with plenty of health. They are both very weak, though the Solar Flare maybe giving them the time that they need. Spoozy not wanting to chase them under the tier 2 turret. The Blue Esports Fire bot lane maybe learning from their mistakes in game 1 and backing off early.
Yeah. I feel like Spoozy could have picked up those kills if he didn't go towards the bush and just came towards the Krugs, but still, it is decent lead just because they're gonna be losing another wave of CS. We see Humble here
getting picked on again, manages to ultimate, does not manage to get the W off. The Haymaker does not go through. That's going to be Rift Herald for the side of Blue Esports Fire. It should most likely be traded for the Drake on the bottom side of the map for TA Light.
Yeah, and yeah, Trundle is doing plays on the map, which what we want to see. He's using his ultimate efficiently. Like this ultimate just turns these like kind of bruiser tanks into squishy people.
Rhaegar goes down, gets caught out by the double roots as well as the Lux ultimate and falls under the tower. I mean, that's definitely going to lock up this Cloud Drake, but that is not a feels good for sure.
Yeah, and before the game, what I tried to say about Lux was the Serpent does a lot of damage with like some gold, and we saw like he basically one-shot the Jinx, and I think it is a bad idea for this Jinx to opt into Kraken Slayer. Okay, so we have to burn the ultimate, and Victor's Flash. Okay, there was some action there, but
there was a little bit.
I feel like you need the boots as the Jinx here because you need that movement speed to dodge out these abilities coming from Lux. If you can dodge out the abilities, you're good. They spend their cooldowns, you go in with Leona. But if you can't dodge, like it's just Lux root into the final spark, and Jin can help with the W into Gale Force, and you're dead. Like there's no outplay potential whatsoever. And I really don't like both ADCs kind of going for these like bootless builds where the enemy team has options to get on top of you.
Yeah, especially this Jhin. You normally see a boots of swiftness rush, but there's not even paper bags on his feet. He's just going straight for the Lord Doms. It's very interesting item builds for sure. That being said, both mid laners and ADCs have completed their mythic. It was around the same time. The gold lead, again, only, now 1.5k. Nothing too dramatic, nothing too crazy. This Cassin, though, is at level 10, is close to approaching that level 11 power spike. First turret of the game, though, looks like that is going to go into the hands of TA Light. Rhaegar now maybe getting caught out. The Jhin doing a lot of damage here, but Dallas has to start reloading. Irusai is here to defend his bot lane. It is a 2v3. The Jhin trap comes out. Everybody disengages, but Rhaegar caught out without any summoner spells, and as you said, not really able to dodge those skill shots without those boots.
Yeah, and they did burn heal coming from Dallas, but I think if they played that one better, that was for sure a kill. I think that should have been a kill, but it is fine. You burn the summoner spell. It is a good, it is a good play from the side of TA, but though, because they pick up the turret, they pick up the first turret, they get some more gold onto this pockets of the Jhin, and at this point, Jin is up close to 1500 gold compared to this Jinx. Jinx finally going towards the Berserker boots. I like that, but I think it might be a little too late this time around because you already gave up the lead to the enemy bot lane, and it is gonna hurt because that Lux, I don't know about the Jin. Jin does a lot of damage, but from my personal experience, Lux is like the amount of damage that the champion does with like a support item and a Ludens is crazy. I don't know if it's just me, but
No, yeah, it is so annoying to play against. It's just an additional, 1,000 damage at least, give or take. But now we see another gank onto this top lane. Sauter cannot seem to catch a break up here. Manages to get the W. That might keep him alive long enough for his jungler to arrive, and it does. Spoozy, but guess what? Here comes the rest of the team. It is back to a 2v2. It's a 1-for-1 on the top side of the map. Top has the ultimate. He is at level 11. Cooldowns are coming through. It is not that instantaneous cast in level 6. On the other side of the map, though, Dr. Phil and Chill just gets the 1v1 on Rhaegar. Mid laner will always take that one. Elusive trying to block, trying to get those body shots, or trying to block the lethal shots with his body. That is a 2-for-1 across the map. Rhaegar just getting caught out by Dr. Phil and Chill.
yeah, and I don't know. I feel like this is kind of going back to the last game where bot lane is having rough time playing safe, and especially Rhaegar. I think Kenny is having a bit better game, but Rhaegar is getting caught again, and they have to rotate Mr. Top into the side where sides to help out these losing side lanes. I don't know if we should call this Ornn set losing right now because of how much time Trundle put in, and like Ornn is sitting on 2 kills, but Mr. Toppin had to rotate, and every time he has to do that, he's going down in CS. Like we see Dr. Phil and Chill, we haven't seen him on the map too much until this last Jinx kill, but he is sitting at 165 CS. Like almost 9 to 10 CS per minute, and he is super strong.
Indeed, and this Rift Herald, it gets dropped in the bottom lane, but it's not even going to get to charge. That is because of Urusai not dying to before we could drop in the top lane. Here we see some ultimates come through. Urusai does get rooted by the Lux. Cynical support, maybe getting caught out by this Trundle. It's a lot of damage. There comes the Super Mega Death Rocket, and Urusai goes chomp on the 2-2-1 Lux. A little bit of revenge for the rest of his team.
Yeah. That kill also went onto the Trundle, which is not bad. It is just looking rough in general because I think when this team fights will come through, your Jinx is not strong right now, and the enemy Lux plus Jin are looking scary. Plus this Victor, and this point in time, your Kassadin is not where you want him at. Your Lux, your Jinx is the same. She has to finish 2 to 3 items to at least be scary for the enemy team. And right now, Spoozy is looking good on this Hecarim pick. He kind of picked it up from that bad pathing level 1 that he had, and he is up 10 CS currently onto the enemy jungler.
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, he's either been able to avoid Urusai or find Urusai after he's already used his ultimate. So a lot of that advantage that Trundle has in the matchup seems to get negated, but Spoozy now goes in on Kenai. That might have been a little bit of a bait by the Leona support. Nobody is dead, but some damage does get traded out, mostly onto the health bars of Blue Esports Fire, and everybody will move on out of there. No ultimates used. Everybody shaking hands, moving away.
If I wasn't wrong, I think I saw Leona using the Solar Flare, which is fine. There is no objectives around the map, so I'm not expecting the cooldown being burned, like resulting in anything bad for Blue Esports. But I think if they're using this Leona ult, it shouldn't be defensive. They should be looking to play a little bit more aggressive because they have this lead in the jungle. Yes, we talked about
Here we see the Hecarim goes in with the Onslaught of Shadows. That is a lot of fear getting laid down. Kenai has to flash, and there is the Lux ultimate. I believe that hit 3, or manages to get a shutdown there. We see the showstopper though, and Spoozy has slain Elusive. Blue Esports Fire are on the run, but you cannot outrun the horse. Kenai is going to get pincered one way or the other. It is up to Mr. Top. He is not a level 16 cast in. The ultimate cooldown is relatively short, but he still gets rooted and he still falls. That is an ace for the side of TA Light. They are going to be starting to do some damage to this base.
Yeah. I think, like, from what we talked in the pregame, like, their comp, they did kind of what we wanted. They didn't lose mid lane too hard. They kind of picked up some leads in the jungle earlier on, getting this Ornn actually ahead in the set Ornn matchup, which is not favored for Ornn. But the fact that their bot lane is down so much, like, your front line can be as strong as you want, but when your back line is not dishing out enough damage, you will eventually lose these fights, and that's what we're seeing right now. This Jinx is super squishy, super vulnerable, and, like, positioning wise, he's been getting caught out by Cynical's bindings almost for the whole game. So it is a rough game. It is better than last game though. Like, last game, 20 minutes in, TA was hitting Nexus.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Top Sauter getting caught out maybe one more time. W looks like there it goes. It finally comes through. The Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't hit, and Mr. Top falls in the 2v1. It looked really good there for a moment.
yeah, I think Mr. Top kind of stayed around so that he could pick up the kill, but yeah, he's not doing enough damage. So I think you just kind of have to leave and like let Airside just pick up the kill on his own. Now it's a trade. Sauter gets himself onto the board, his first kill after the 3 assists that he picked up in these team fights, and Spoozy being chunked in the mid lane. The timers for the objectives, there's 1 minute for this dragon.
That's a big root. These long range ultimates are coming through. Kenai falls. The Chaos Storm has been dropped. That was 2 ultimates used for the side, 3 ultimates used, my apologies, for the side of TA Light. The dragon is going to be spawning in just about 40 seconds. Kenai will respawn, but that is going to give TA Light priority over the river. This is Soul if they get it. Spoozy tries to run down Elusive, but he lives up to his name despite being a big ol' Ornn. TA Light move into the river, start setting up Vision. It is going to be on the side of Blue Esports to run in here and face check essentially their entire bottom side quadrant.
So the good thing about this fight, at least like something good for Blue Esports, is that Dr. Philantral and Dallas will not have access to their ultimates. And for the side of Blue Esports, they didn't really burn much other than the Trundle ult, which it is pretty important, but there's might be a pickup.
They're going to try to catch out Sauter again, but he does have a good escape tool. He dies before he can use it. The Trundle ult is not yet up, but it will be in just a second. That is a shutdown. Rhaegar maybe can get some gold into his pocket later game in scaling, but right now it is about chasing down these kills. Mr. Top tries to get the Hecarim, but once again the horse is a little too fast. The good news is so far that his control over the Drake pit to Blue Esports. Spoozy is still alive though. There is no flash. Maybe, just maybe he can get a blast cone, but there is currently a root on Elusive. The Drake, however, falls to the side of Blue Esports Fire, and they delay the soul for just a second longer.
Yeah, so this is I think really bad news for TA. They gave up the shutdown on Dallas, on that Jhin to Rhaegar on the Jinx. He is, at least that's something. After how horrible the early game was for him, this is something, at least a gold income. And they also pick up this dragon. They stop the soul. They pick up another objective bounty. I think that engage from Spoozy was a little too ambitious. When you don't have your Jhin to follow up with the ultimate, and your set already being dead, I think you just want to like kind of sit back and like use that ultimate kind of when the enemy team is trying to hit the dragon. I think that would be a better idea. After that engage, the Jinx gets some gold. Trundle also picks up the dragon, picks up the bot turret to himself, and these type of mistakes might hurt TA because they want to end this game as soon as possible. If this game goes to 30-35 minutes, like, this Jinx is eventually going to finish items, and you're not gonna have as easy of a time as you were having, because Mr. Toppin 2 levels away from level 16. That big power spike that Chastity gets when he gets that level 16, level 3 ultimate, he gets really strong. That, like, it's gonna be a lot of pressure on Cynical and Dallas on the backline. And once this Jinx is strong enough, suppose he will not be as tanky as he is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, talking about that shutdown for the Jinx, Rhaegar has almost completely caught up on items to Dallas. Dallas had almost a full item advantage prior to that fight, and now the Jinx has Lord Doms, has the Kraken Slayer. The root comes through, though. K9 maybe getting caught out again. Flame Chompers protecting the support just enough, and it is now just on to clearing waves. Mr. Top, Dr. Phil, and Chill trading some cooldowns up in the top lane. Both are level 14 at the moment. Dr. Phil and Chill has had the level advantage for most of this game, but just as I say it, Mr. Top gets to level 15, 1 level away from that dreaded level 16 Kassadin.
Yeah, and this is where Killshot BXP, I think, comes into play. It's like, you keep the lead for a long time. I think this is a really extended fight from Spuzy, by the way.
Mr. Top, he was able to get away, but Elusive is here now, maybe TPing to his death, charges away, the Lux ultimate comes through, Mr. Top has to go golden, Elusive is still here as the Ornn. The Super Mega Death Rocket comes through and doesn't do anything. That is 2 deaths on the... Is that 2 deaths on the top side of the map? I don't know if I'm missing something here, but it's at least 1 death on the top side of the map. Mr. Top did manage to get away. I thought he was dead after going golden. A little bit of an escape artist there, leaving Elusive to die.
Yeah, and I think that TP was a little too ambitious. I thought it was a good TP, but then I saw that Irisa is fighting Sauter in the bot lane. Mr. Toppin is obviously Chunk. Jinx is not there. Oh, this fight might look bad. Phil and Chill
is here, has a lot of damage. Here comes the curtain call, though. This is pretty big. Ultimates have now been burned. Blue Esports, they are out of the line of fire, but now Mr. Top, he is on a one-man mission to try to maybe die to a turret, maybe get out of there. He still has a lot of damage. Dallas, though, Irisai tries to re-engage on the ADC. Jinx flash, or not Jinx, Jin flashes forward, gets the kill onto the Trundle. Mr. Top has somehow made it out alive, and that is a 1-for-1 trade. The support falls, the jungler falls. Sauter maybe thinking of getting a pick onto the Ornn, but he is too tanky. The Baron is left alive. TA Light gets some kills, and it looks like we were back in a relatively even game state.
Yeah, it was a 1v1 and 1-for-1, and I feel like these 1v1s are just like in favor of blue. Jinx was able to pick up the kill. He gets the Ornn upgrade. I don't know how to say this. Rimfallen Sacrifice, like a buff to the AD and attack speed for this Jinx, which is again huge. I want to check how much gold he's sitting on. He's sitting on 2k, so more than likely he's going to reset into maybe a Zeal item, or if he wants to stay and hold on to the gold a little bit more, he can maybe go for the IE. Nope, he opts in for the Phantom Dancer, which actually gives more DPS to this Jinx, more attack speed, more chances to proc that Kraken Slayer. And I feel like this Jinx right now is super scary. Like, thinking that Spuzy has not been focusing Rhaegar, at least for the last 2 fights, and Rhaegar having the cleanse, like being able to cleanse the fear from the Hecarim, it is going to get harder for the side of TA to fight these things. But they're giving up this Mountain Soul. I think this is a really bad idea.
Indeed, the Mountain Soul goes down in exchange for an objective bounty. The root goes on to Elusive. This is a lot of additional shielding onto TA Light that might negate a little bit of the scaling that Blue Esports Fire have. Kassadin still not level 16 yet. The Drake just goes down in trade for, what was that, the mid lane tier 1 turret? Yeah. I don't know if the soul is worth that.
I think the problem there was that Blue was really late to the team fight, and they were not able to get any setup or anything else like that for that dragon. So going there blind would basically mean that they're just going to throw a team fight, because you want your tanks to walk in front, but then there's a set in the game, so if that set just holds your tank. Oh, good flank from
the Ornn comes out. Irisai is now here, but the red team, oh, they get the Baron, but it might be in exchange for their lives. Set W comes through the Haymaker, not doing enough. Trundle with the triple kill. Spoozy's the only one that's still alive. The horse running for his life. The Baron is left only on 1. That is 4 for 1 for the side of Blue Esports. Who cares about this soul? We got a troll.
Yeah, that was really good flank from Mursai, kind of splitting the team for the side of TA, and they just cannot play it. Wait, need to be careful.
Boozy does not have the wave clear. His turret just falls, and Blue Esports, it seems like they leave him with a moment of, you know what, we could have killed you if we wanted to, because I really feel like they could have.
Yeah, if they had the ultimate on the Trundle, for sure, I think Spoozy was that. My thing about this game is that I've seen Jinx win games when the enemy team had Soul, like every types of Soul. Since Riot did a really good idea, a really good choice, and removed Chemtech Dragon for the safety of this game, I haven't seen a Jinx that was full build not being able to carry against the ocean, like against these Dragon Souls. Like the champion, when she gets 4 items, is absolutely broken, and with the amount of, let me not say peel, but frontline that Blue Esports has, if he positions little good, this teamfights are almost for sure wins for the side of Blue Esports. Especially right now, building towards that IE, it is gonna get really hard. Mr. Toppin hitting 16, Ornn Elusive hitting level 14, probably, what is he hitting 15? Yeah, he's really close to level 15. He's gonna be able to upgrade 1 more item. And Irisai just like kind of holding his team up in these like mid-game team fights so that they can scale a little longer.
Absolutely, and they do lose that tier 2, but Irisai is here now, is probably going to get this 1v1 on Sauter, even though Sauter has the level advantage. The W comes through, the Stride Breaker is used, as well as the Flash, and Irisai forces the set away from the turret. Spoozy, though, is still here with the rest of the team in the mid lane. There is still plenty of damage on the side of TA Light. Just now is the gold lead, gotten below 3K. It's currently at the 2K mark, but it's what we were talking about before. It's what you were talking about before. Cast at level 16, Blue Esports, they don't necessarily care as much about the gold to hit their power spikes. They're hitting their power spikes despite being at the gold disadvantage, and those kind of innate character traits are now letting them climb all the way back in, and the longer this game goes on, it just gets worse and worse for the side of TA.
Yeah, and like we also saw they were trying to push mid with Baron, but when you just when there's only one person on the team that has Baron, and then that's the jungler, you don't really get to do much with the Baron. You can only keep mid pressure for so long, and they just cannot play the side lanes right now. Set is extremely behind. He's not tanky. He's going for a squishy, a bruiser build right now, but it is really hard for him to survive in the side lane. And this Jinx is getting stronger by the minute, and it's gonna just kind of get harder from here for the side of TA. They need a miracle team fight, right now on this Elder, or if that Jinx gets to finish IE, I don't see them winning any team fight soon.
Absolutely not. The pillar comes out, as well as the Flame Chompers, to get Kenai out of there. No combat as of yet, but the Elder will be off briefly. We have now gone from Blue Esports having objective bounties to, if I'm reading this correctly, it looks like TA are the ones that have objective bounties according to Riot's new overlay. But we're not actually seeing them show, or wait, no, you know what? I can't read, I'm just going to be honest here. Again, I get my lefts and rights confused. I am just shocked that Blue Esports still have objective bounties.
Yeah, well, I think it's mainly because of the Dragon lead. Objective bounties, we usually look at the gold lead, but it actually takes in account a lot of things. The EXP lead, the dragons, the heralds, everything goes into consideration when they're doing this. Irisai getting caught, he's alone, and
he is pretty speedy though, lays down his domain. I don't think that you win this 3v1, but maybe you can get one in trade. Hakram has to start running away, is ticking down. The smite, the red smite almost made it happen, but whew, that is terrifying. Kenai now, I'm not sure you want to be here, my friend. What are you doing? He's all alone on the other side of that wall and just gets blown up. That's 2 for nothing. That's an Elder for the side of TA. Just as we were propping them up, Blue Esports, it seems like they knocked themselves down.
Yeah, I don't really know what Trundle was trying to do there. It's like, you really don't need to do that. You just need to be with your team. You have a Jinx that is getting strong. You have a level 17 Kassadin. And the Mega Death Rocket being used for, I don't know what, but they don't have access. That Elder being taken means they're going to take Baron too. And this game that Blue Esports tried so hard to get back into is just now might be just gone from that one mispositioning from your side.
Yeah, I mean, we know we've seen some crazy Kassadin plays throughout League of Legends history, but I'm gonna be honest, this one is going to be a little rough against Mountain Soul and Elder.
And Baron, probably.
Most likely.
Unless Regard just surprises everyone.
Hey, you know, we could see it. You might as well go for it, right? They have no vision, and yeah, they don't even try. Oh, you know, that's one of those where you might as well, right?
To be honest, I don't know how much gold more, I think it's almost like 200 more gold. Mr. Toppin almost has his Rabadons. Jinx, Rehgar sitting on the IE right now, sitting for almost full build, and Ornn having the stone plate too. They have their power spikes. This is peak. Yeah, there's the Rabadons. Like, this is as strong as they will get. I'm pretty honest, and Rehgar.
Oh my god, the snipe! That was from a mile away, but Spoozy, maybe a little bit too far, goes golden. The rest of the team comes in to back him up. It is a 1-0 trade. I mean, if you're Rehgar there, that just feels bad.
Well, you shouldn't be walking up when the enemy team has a Jhin, Lux, and Elder Dragon. That is basically it, and this game is probably over.
It is. They are pushing the base. They have the Elder. They have Baron. Here comes the Ornn Horn. Maybe it'll make something happen, but Sauter is on. Elusive has peeled him away from the rest of the team. Kenai is in the middle of the rest of them. Can Mr. Top make it happen? No, he can't. He has fallen. The only one left alive is Irosai. He tried to pull his team all the way back from the beginning of this game, but there are 5 members of TA Light alive. And in a very close game where Blue Esports almost come back, they fall now 2-0 in the series to TA Light.
Yeah, I think the heartbreaking about that game was Irosai. He held the game for so long. He was the main carry, I'm almost about to say, just like for his team. And one mistake that he does in this whole game just costs them the game. That's just like heartbreaking to see. But again, this is a game where you cannot do mistakes when Elder Dragon is up and you're the jungler. Like, I don't know. I think it was a really basic mistake coming out, and it is really unlucky. They brought out the gold lead almost from like 7, almost 10k to 2 3s. They got their scalings in, and just one small mistake and the game is over. That is really heartbreaking for the side of Blue Esports.
Yeah, it is. It is always hard to see, especially when you get so close. But you can at least take solace in the fact that, hey, you know, it was better than game 1. You're able to kind of crawl back from some of that. But as we saw, you know, Irosai here had the most gold on his team as a Trundle. You don't see that too often. And I mean, that's just, if you're TA now, you are completely undefeated. Haven't even dropped a game in any of your series so far. You're 6-0. You're feeling pretty good about yourselves, keeping up with kind of the big boys up there with Hard Hat Zone and the other undefeated teams.
Yeah. I will be honest. Like game 1 was super clean, but game 2 it was a little, I will say, scuffed. They made easy mistakes, especially I think Sauter after having that Shen performance. Kind of this time he was the one not respecting the enemy team and kind of getting punished for it. I think for at least for this series, I'll give my MVP to Cynical. I think he played almost perfect both games, on point with his lanterns game 1, lanterns, hooks. He was able to push his team to get bigger leads, and game 2 he was just like, especially on that last ultimate onto Rehgar, that actually sealed the deal. Like maybe if Jinx was there, like maybe they could have won a fight because like you'll never know. A 4-item Jinx, she gets one reset, you might just lose a fight when you have Elder Dragon. You'll never know. And Cynical just made sure that wasn't going to be the deal to the second game, and it was a really good series from him.
Absolutely. Now, we will have an interview here with Dr. Phil and Chill. We are bringing him in now. Let's see here. All right, Dr. Phil and Chill, congratulations on another 2-0 week. How are you and the team feeling?
Pretty good. Pretty good. The second game was a little rougher than it needed to be, but
Hey, you still clawed it back there, especially around that kind of final Elder fight. What were the team comms like after you managed to get Urusai on that Trundle pick just off in the bottom lane?
it was kind of just we all monkeyed out and said Trundle's caught, so we killed him, and then it was just kind of everyone was yelling to do the objectives from there, and it was coordinated effort from that point. So.
There you go. Love to see it. After, and I do kind of want to ask, after game one, we did see a little bit of a change up in those secondary bans. You banned the Vygar going into the Victor matchup. So Mr. Top was it? You think it was worth to trade that Vygar for the Cassidy pick?
No. So I wanted Cassidy banned, but our coach insta banned Vygar, and I was yelling at him for it, and we all disagreed with that. But it made it happens. Like I would have definitely banned Caston there, but it is what it is. It just Caston gives them an alternate win con that's kind of puts us on a timer, because I'm pretty confident in outscaling any other matchup, but Caston it's kind of rough because
Yeah, the champion is a little obnoxious.
But no, that was a bit of a blunder with that ban. I can agree with that.
Okay. So you are currently 6-0 game score and 3-0 in your series score. What is your opinion of like these teams that you played against, and like from the games that you were maybe able to watch or see from the rest of the teams that you haven't played yet? What do you think about your division in general?
Well, obviously we haven't gone up against any of the teams that people are, praising and saying are the top seeds. So I haven't really watched too many of their games, to be honest. I think there's two teams that I feel, from a glance, just looking at things from an outside's perspective, I haven't really watched games that I think will be the most difficult challenge. And it's not just because they're also 4-0, because a lot of people rate, Dorado above us and Collective. I think we can have a fairly good match against those two teams. I don't think they're on the. From a glance, again, I haven't played them. I haven't watched them play. But like what we're looking at right now is mainly DNX and Hard Hat Zone for like the most challenging matches. I think the other teams, I don't know enough about them. The teams we played, I think last week was a bit of a mess because they had 5 ban losses, and it was a little disorganized. I don't think that series was as fair as it needed to be with the 5 bans and all that. Game 2 of this game was definitely the closest we've played, I believe. I don't think there was a match game week 1 that was closer.
Yeah.
But that was just a bit of a miscommunications and getting caught and stuff that led to that. So.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one more thing. So taking away from the team and going mainly towards yourself, I personally feel like Wednesday is like the most stacked mid lane player pool that we've seen, I think, until now in CCS. We have Hard at Zone's mid laner Marcel, and especially the Philly B, last season's MVP. You haven't played against them, obviously, but knowing that like there's still Hadio that was your sub mid laner for the roster, and like playing against the other mid laners, how do you see yourself line up compared to them?
Well, I am familiar with Philly B. I subbed for his team for a while in Collective. I filled in for a bit. So I don't remember how close that roster was to this one. I know Flan was still AD carry. I don't remember the other players though. I don't know how much that roster's changed. Philly B has a very different playstyle to me. They put a lot more resources into like his carry pool. For some reason, I've gotten Victor 5 games. I don't know why that's happened, but
Work.
like if I'm not, I tend to if I'm assuming I don't get it for like many of the games we play. Like I ever get in the scrims and stuff. We usually adapt to like other play styles that don't like put focus mid. I think Spoozy and I have a very good mid jungle. Obviously, in game one, we had a very miscommunication where I wanted to back off Scuttle, but he wanted to fight for it 2v4. But besides that, I don't know anything about Marcel. I haven't watched Hard Zone games, but obviously, rank-wise, he's much higher, and I hear a lot about him. I'm sure he's a better player, but I think I'm fairly decent at neutralizing lanes and not inting. So we'll see how that goes.
Indeed. Well, you definitely had a very strong showing this week. Now, I will say for my last question, next week you are up against your sister team in TA Knight. I just have to ask, who do you think wins between TA Knight and TA Light? You can just quick and easy, just let us know.
I think we're winning that one. I don't even know if it's going to go to 3 games.
Ooh. So we're predicting another 2-0 week is what I'm hearing.
But
I'd like to. I don't want. I'm not the type of person to get too like cocky about things. I don't say that about most teams, but I think we can put up a good showing against them. I can definitely see it going to 3 games though. I'm kind of just saying that to say that, but I don't know. Again, I don't know much about them either. So I know they're bot lane. That's it.
No,
oh, and I guess they're mid now. They're mid now because Hadios filled in there. Is that the one he's in, right? I think so.
I
yeah.
believe so. All right. Well, thank you so much for the interview, Dr. Phil and Chill. Your name is awesome, by the way. We've been gushing over it all day today in our own chat. But also thank you to everybody that came out and watched this series. It was pretty fun, especially that game too. It was very exciting. Thank you for hanging out. We will be live again tomorrow with the Thursday League of CCS, as well as once again live next week, where you can see TA Light play once again, as well as Blue Esports Fire. Thank you all very much for watching. Be safe, be smart, make wise decisions. Farewell.